So, like I said, it's actually going to be a flat place that the next tier is going to sit on. And how you find it and get the right shape is what size you're going to put on top. So, for this cake, it was a 10-inch and an 8-inch, and we're putting an 8-inch, 7-inch on top. So it was a 7-inch round that I needed to carve out of there, and I just used the 7-inch round tin. I just grabbed that out and used it as a template to cut it out. So for this tier, it is an 8-inch, 7-inch, and I'm going to be putting a 5-inch on top. So if I get my 5-inch round tin, that's my template. That's the size of the cake that's going to sit on top. So you get your tin that you've just baked your cake off in, and you place it in the center. Now, this is a bit of a trick or tip. So you can see on this level that you carve out where your cake's going, but then you put a layer of ganache, and then you put a layer of fondant. And then you put a cake on top that's got a layer of ganache and a layer of fondant. So for about an inch of fondant and ganache, it's going to move this way. It's going to move towards the edge of the cake. So you want to counteract that by cutting it further inwards. I know that sounded confusing, but basically if you're in the center, you want to move your cake tin back towards the edge so that you know you've got ganache, fondant, it'll be in the center. So that's a trick. So for this size, I moved it an inch that way. This size, 3/4 of an inch, I moved it that way. So you can see it's not in the center. I know it doesn't look like it's in the center, but it will be after I cover it. So I'm going to carve it out now. So you just use a sharp knife, an up-down action. I'm just going to grab my pointy knife just for a moment. It's got a green buttercream on it, but that's fine. So you'll be cutting down to one level. You can just trim it a bit down the bottom, like leave a line or an indent. And just do it slowly and carefully. Again, you don't need to hack away at the cake and ruin it at this stage. And then carve it that way. Just be careful not to cut yourself. Now I want to peel that tin off. You've dirtied it again, but that's all right. All right. So I know it doesn't look in the center. Like I said, I know it's not. I might use this other one now. And now we're going to carve away. Now it looks a little bit like an armchair. That's what you're going for, in all honesty. All right, and then you don't cut it down this side because you're going to cut in this way. All right, I'll just put a bit of peppermint cream in there. All right, I'm just going to move that cake out of the way so I don't knock it. Then, to get it out, you go sideways. And then you go a bit further. And then you go just about all the way to the other edge. And you cut down again. All right, we should be just about there. It should be just about pop out. And if it doesn't pop out in one piece, that's fine. Just carve little bits away. There we go. And you can see how the layers of buttercream and ganache are in there. So that is where your tier is going to sit, where the next tier above is going to sit. So for this layer, we need to crumb coat in here as well. So again, more ganache and crumb coat it. It's a little bit harder to do these angles, but you don't need it perfect by any means because none of this is going to show in your final cake design. Awesome. And then just smooth it out a bit. So you get it all the way up to the top and then peel it back. So you've got the armchair effect now. Looks like a Homer Simpson chair. Awesome, and that's literally it. So that is a crumb coat. We're going to do a final load of coat of ganache. What we're going to do is pop it in the fridge, 10 minutes, let the ganache set, pull it out, and we'll do the final coat. So we've just pulled it out of the fridge and we're going to do the final coat. So we do 2 layers of ganache. That's what I do. Every cake is different, every cake decorator. So the ganache I've just put in the microwave for another 10 seconds because it was getting too firm. I've got it on my palette knife, and again, to detach it from the palette knife, you want to do the backwards forwards motion, which I call a queen's wave. And you're just piling it on the cake. You are not worried about getting it pretty now. We'll do that after we've got a nice coat of ganache on the cake. Also, the more ganache you put on the cake can help you get those angles, because like I said, there were some angles on the side I wasn't completely happy with while carving it, but you can fix it. So that's why I'm putting more on as well. And as I'm taking it off, I'll just take more or less off in an area that I'm wanting to fix the angle. So everything's fixable. Don't stress about it if it's not perfect. Life's way too short for that. So you just keep picking it up and piling it on. If at the same time you're also putting, extra up the top here to get that lip that I've told you about before, that makes life easier as well. So backwards, forwards motion. And get it on. Like I said, don't worry about that non-slip that's underneath. It'll peel off later. It's just to stop that cake moving around, making life difficult. Okay, so I've got a nice thick layer on now. Now I want to make sure I've got some at all the lips like I was telling you about. And I'm using my little angle knife. I do like using it. I just find it very comfortable and easy to use. But you can use a straight palette knife, you can use a larger one. It's completely up to you. All right, we've got a nice thick layer now. We've got some at all the edges. Now we're going to start neatening it up, getting it flat, and also getting the angles that we're wanting right. So fixing up any spots that are missing. All right, so we're just going to slide it around. Just use the turntable and slide, and then all the way up to the top as well. Do it again. So when you're doing the tidying up, you're just using one edge of your palette knife this time instead of the backwards forwards motion. We're just going for one edge. And you can see now you can't see the cake board down the bottom. So we filled up all those places after we've carved it with ganache. So it is a 7-inch round at the base now. And that is important for the Topsy Turvy because you need to be able to fit it into the first tier without it being too big. Whoops, I just knocked it with my hand. That's all right. Might just wipe that off so it looks a bit messy on screen. There we go. All right, the sides are looking pretty good. I'm just going to check the angles now. And that has improved immensely. See, everything's fixable. All right, now we're going to do the top. So the top's a little bit hard because you've got, 3 angles rather than the one now. And there's lots of different ways you can do it, but it doesn't really matter in all honesty. You just need a layer of ganache in there. And where you want it smooth or even would be the chair. That would be the only spot that it really matters because that's the only spot that you're going to see later on because the rest is going to be covered with cake. So I'm just piling some ganache on, really. Get a bit of it everywhere. I'm going to do the back of the chair, so I know that's done. Okay, so now to smooth out the top, I'll start with the center. That seems like a good spot. Spin that around, that's done. Then I'll do inside the chair. That's done. Now we're just worried about these lips up here. And that's just a bit of work in all honesty. Backwards and forwards, going over it a couple of times and you will get there. So if you concentrate on the angle that you're wanting a nice flat angle. So if you go up, around, and then down. I'll do that again. So you can just go up one side if you want and then the other side if you find that more comfortable. And I know it's smooched it over that side and that side again, which you've already had smooth, but that's fine. It's the only way to get that smooth and then this smooth. Okay, so keep your palette knife clean. So always just keep wiping it off onto your bowl and then peel it back away again. See, you've got it smooth again on this side, and then we'll smooth it on the inside. So then we might smooth this inside here. Yeah, that's pretty good. Doesn't need to be perfect, remember, in there, because nobody's going to see it. Get rid of some of that excess ganache in there. All right, now we've got some lips to work with to make it smooth. So peel that to the center, wipe it off. I'm just doing the outside in, wipe it off, wipe it off, wipe it off, wipe it off. You might be able to hear the rain a little bit. It's just come in over the ocean. Perfect cake weather. All right, so now I'm just messing with it a little bit, in all honesty. Just want to get rid of these last lips. So I'm looking at it, and this side looks a little bit thinner than this side, so I'm going to just scrape some of that ganache away. So remember, everything's fixable, nothing to stress about. You're not going to see it anywhere. I just want to make sure my cake will be sitting in the center. So I just scrape the ganache away. Yes, I can see cake, but that's fine. There's more than enough flavor in there. All right, so now we're peeling it back a bit and scrape. Getting rid of these lips on this edge now. Now we're just about there. We just want it a little bit flatter. So again, I'm just going to use the turntable to its advantage, doing what it does best, and spin it around. I want to get rid of this excess ganache here. There's some excess ganache on these edges, so I'm just going to go there again, up the top here. All right, so it's created lips again, so you just pull them back in. All right, so the ganache has been a bit cold a couple of times, so it's actually a bit of a hard bump of ganache up here. I'm trying to fix that. But again, flavor-wise, it's going to taste amazing. Okay, we're just about there. I just want to finish this corner. So the bit you'll see most is going to be this edge here. That's going to define the topsy-turvy, really. So to fix it, I want to layer up the side and create that lip again, and then we peel it back in. So side, peel it back in. Just a little bit more here. We are just about done. All right, so check all your angles again, that you're happy with it. If you want to fill it in with ganache anywhere. Check if there's any waves or bumps. So there's a bit of excess ganache there, so I'll take that off. And there's a bit of excess ganache in here I'll get rid of, because once it's set hard, it's hard to get rid of. Awesome. All right, so this is now ready for fondant.